What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and in this video, you are getting a "What is CGC doing?" twofer. And so we're going to have two different topics because I wasn't sure that I would have enough with just one of these for a full video, but I had a couple people reach out to me about some things that they saw, and I decided that I'd put a video together for it because, hey, why not? So the first one here, always fun to see one of these. So I'm definitely not calling out the seller on this. I think the seller probably didn't realize what they had. When you look at what's part of this submission, I would say the seller is maybe not super familiar with comics. And especially with what to send in for grading. And so this is on CGC. All right, this is on CGC. There's no excuse for this at all. We've got an Ultimate Fallout 4 right here that was graded by CGC, 9.6. This is the first appearance of Miles Morales. And for those of you that have, some sharp eyes, you probably already see the problem. And this is part of the problem. This should never get through CGC graders. Now, when these first came out, I understand. When these first came out, I hated that Marvel did this because it's so tricky to identify reprints when they do this kind of garbage, when it's not clearly marked on the cover. So yes, this is a reprint. This is how you know it's a reprint. The Marvel has red behind it. You can also tell because the numbers that are in the little UPC barcode, whatever, on the bottom are also different. But the really obvious thing, if you know what you're doing, is that the Marvel has red behind it in the reprint. The original, it's just black. But this doesn't say reprint. And if we go over to the CGC site, it also does not say reprint. Rippling back cover, 9.6. Maybe they didn't press it. I don't know. But regardless, this is the book. This has that, little, this is the reprint. And how do we, know for sure that this isn't the original? We jump over to GPA and we go Ultimate Fallout 4. And let's just look up, a 9.8 that has sold relatively recently. And we can get an image of that book. And we go right here. This one sold for $840 on Heritage. And hey, look at that. There's no red behind the Marvel. And if you want to see what else is different here, you can go down into, like I said, you can go down into the little barcode down here. And you can see, it's hard to see on that one. Let's go over here. We'll see it here. You can see that this barcode on the reprint is 00111. On the original, it's 00411. I think these are also different over on the right-hand side. Yeah, the first 5 digits are the same, but the last 5 digits, 20220 versus 07684, are different. So, if you want to look at the serial numbers are different. If you want to look at the more obvious thing that I always use to spot this real quickly, it's that this has the red behind it for the reprint. So whoever paid $340 for this on bids, meaning multiple people bid on this book. So whoever paid $340 for this on bids, if you watch my channel, just know that you have the reprint. And CGC made a stupid mistake that they should not make. So that's the first thing. CGC needs to get that crap right. It's just, those types of mistakes they shouldn't happen. But now, what was the other thing that happened? So we had, and I'm guessing this is when it got implemented. We got a notification maybe a couple days ago, 3 days ago, something like that, where CGC said that they were updating their submission forms. So they said they were updating their submission forms on the site and certain things were going to be down. And whenever that happens, you always know there's something else that's changing. We're not going to be told what that something else is, but you just got to find it.
Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
And one of the people who watches my channel reached out to me and they're like, hey, I can't see this on my phone anymore. do you know if did this change? And I checked my phone, I didn't see it. And I was like, well, sometimes you can't see things on the phones and you can only see them on the, you know, on your computer. So I checked on my computer and it was also gone. And again, if you happen to have, you know, some, like if you look at these sites all the time, you would have seen it right away. There's a piece of information that's now missing on your CGC certification page. Now, maybe this was not intentional. I don't know. Maybe they're going to give that information back, but it feels intentional. The piece of information that is missing now is when the book was graded. And if you're wondering, it's like, oh, maybe that was never there. You know, maybe that information was never there. Well, luckily, I had been waiting to make this video for a while, so I had this screen open. And so I took a screenshot of what it was before, and then I refreshed the page, and now we have this. And so for that little screenshot there, hey, look at that. Grade date, 11/14/2024. That piece of information is no longer provided. You can see it's the exact same book, 45094-85015, Ultimate Fallout 4. And now we have, you know, a grade date that is different, or that is not present. I also was looking at one of the other books from that submission. So just so you can see, it's not just one book. I was looking at one of the other books that was part of that person's submission, because like I mentioned, I was trying to get an idea like what type of books that person was sending in. And you can see this one here, Avengers Annual 10. Grade 8.0, grade date 11/14/2024. Let's jump back over to the CGC page here, and here is the new one. Well, actually, this is the one that I haven't refreshed yet. So you can see here, 11/14/2024. Let's hit that refresh button. Oh, look, it's gone. So now you get to see that live, that I had it before. Now we have it after. And here's that Avengers Annual 10, first appearance of Rogue. And now that piece of information is missing. So the question is, why would you get rid of that piece of information? I mean, we've been talking about this for a little while. I expect that maybe something else has also changed now. And I don't know if it has or not, but it could be that they've started maybe changing the cert numbers so that they aren't sequential anymore. We've talked about that. That's probably coming because it allows us to see what people submit. And so, I mean, that's exactly what I did here with this one. I mean, this was 15, because I was, like I said, I was trying to see what that person had submitted just to get an idea what other types of books they were sending in. And it was like World's Finest, 323 and a 9.0. You know, I mean, that's how I was like, okay, this person doesn't really know how to, you know, assess books or like what to send in for grading, because these are what you would qualify as, and I'm just quoting, this is a term, I'm not insulting the books, they're called junk slabs. And the reason they're referred to generally as junk slabs is that the book costs basically as much to get graded as the book sells for. These are like $30 to $40 slabs. Even in a 9.6, this one is like a $30 to $40 slab. I mean, we can look it up. We've got Dark Horse Presents number 35. It's 25. So Dark Horse Presents number 35 and a 9.6. See here is $50, 90-day average $34, 26, 60. Right? So basically, you're either breaking even or losing money getting that book graded. And so these are the types of books that you would only submit them in like a 9.8 pre-screen. You wouldn't usually send these in. So that's why I was like, okay, like this person probably didn't really know what they had. It wasn't like they were trying to hide that in there or something. I mean, like Fantastic Four 288 and a 9.0. I mean, same thing, like a $30 to $40 book. And this was kind of across the board. Fantastic Four 272 and an 8.0. I mean, these are just books that you would not get graded. Like you're losing money very likely, especially if you paid for pressing and that kind of thing with these. You're very likely losing money getting these graded. These would be much better off just selling for like a few dollars raw. Save you time, save you money, effort, all that kind of stuff, risk of damage on shipping. These are just books you just don't get graded. But that was one of the things, like I said, that I had checked with the submission, because whenever you see something like this, you go like, oh man, that's super questionable. But when you look at that submission, you're like, oh, okay. Like, that's why I'm saying, I'm not calling out the seller or anything. I feel like this is on CGC. CGC is supposed to know, jumping back to this, they're supposed to know what the reprint is, and they're supposed to catch that kind of stuff. That's their job. That's what they're paid for. And they didn't. But why would you get rid of that information? The only thing I could kind of think of, putting on the conspiracy theory hat, if you could see me on screen, I'd put on my tinfoil hat right now, is that, there are certain time periods when CGC has had problems with books like Bendgate, that kind of thing. And people would pick like certain time frames, and they go like, I don't want to buy books that were graded in that time frame. And this would prevent you from being able to see when that book was graded. Now, you can make some rough estimates based on the cert numbers about approximately when those are graded, because these just sequentially count up. But hey, if they get rid of that, like, so they're not sequentially counting up, you wouldn't have that either. And so the tinfoil hat says this is another change that was made to benefit sellers, so that buyers don't have that piece of information to make the, informed decision that they want to make on purchasing a book. The same thing that I made a rant video about a few years ago, when CGC removed notes on the labels. And the only reason that you would remove those notes on the labels is because you want to benefit the seller, because it only hurts the seller. The buyer is getting more information up front about the book. And when you took off those label notes, even though they're still probably in the grader's notes, that kind of thing, it's when you don't have quick access to that information, it's hard. It makes it harder for the buyer. And so this feels similar, that this is a change that was made to benefit the sellers in some way. Likely some big dealers or that kind of thing reached out and, said like, hey, why are you providing this information? And same reason why we think they'll probably end up changing the cert number methodology at some point. But yeah, that's those are the two items that I wanted to discuss. Always be aware of these stupid reprints. I like I said, I think like it's partly on Marvel for making it so close to the original, which is ridiculous. They should not do that. It's 100% on CGC for missing it, because that's their job. And then getting rid of this grade date information. I hope it comes back, that it was just, something when they made their update that they made a mistake, but I doubt it. We'll see. We'll give it some time, see what happens. I don't know if anybody's talked about this on the forum yet. I haven't been over to the forums. They've also, I know people have been talking about that. They've been doing some cleanup on the forums too, removing threads that are controversial, this kind of thing. Some people don't like that either. So all kinds of fun stuff going on. But let me know what you think in the comments. See you on the next one.